Terrifying tales, 7 spine-chilling stories from the haunted corners of the internet revealed. The glow of the screen pulsed like a heartbeat, casting eerie shadows on Sarah's face as she read frantically through haunted corners of the internet. This was no innocent child's play. Each horrifying tale gripped her like cold fingers around her throat, twisting her insides. Missing children, blood-curdling secrets hidden in familiar neighborhoods, it sent chills racing down her spine. The innocence of her suburban life in Willow Creek felt like a thin veneer over an abyss, and she could feel it crack. Jamie, wide-eyed and rapturous, pointed to a story about a neighborhood kid who vanished. "Mom, did you hear this? They say he was lured by whispers in the dark." Each enthusiastic comment from him made Sarah's pulse quicken in alarm. Was he playing with something too dangerous? It was just a website, wasn't it? But the shadows around their old house felt darker, deeper, like a void ready to swallow them whole. As the days went by, the tales spun from the screen bled into their lives. Sarah noticed oddities creeping in. Lights flickered, and just outside her window, she could swear she saw a figure lurking. Dread pooled in her stomach as she scoffed at her thoughts, reminding herself of everything normal: school, work, her kids' laughter. But those familiar sounds started to feel foreign, chased away by the echoes of the forum stories. Goosebumps turned into a permanent state, raised on her skin like a warning. Then came that text message. "They're watching you." It pulled her from her thoughts like a trap sprung. Who? Who was watching? Every mundane errand felt suddenly charged with danger. The errand runs, the little trips to the market, each became a ticking clock of terror. A prank? Perhaps. But paranoia hummed through her veins, turning her house into a cage. Wasn't Willow Creek supposed to be safe? Her neighbor, Rick, stood at the edge of the dread line. He offered to help, smiling gently, but his presence had a weight. The kindness felt heavy, unsettling. Sarah found herself searching his eyes, searching for cracks, for truths hidden beneath the surface. Jamie's excitement morphed into obsession. Each night, he would recount another story, each eerier than the last, each striking too close to home. Shadows danced on the walls, whispering secrets while Sarah tightened her grip around her phone, her lifeline. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Digging further into Jamie's realm of ghost stories, Sarah found herself trapped in a digital maze, piecing together glimmers of the unnerving connections between her neighborhood and those tales. A name surfaced: Amanda. The girl who went missing 15 years ago. The girl everyone said was just a rumor, a tragedy that never happened. But the site told different tales of unspeakable horror. The tension rose in her chest, closing in like hands wrapping around her throat. It dawned on her that each post was not just a story, it was a chilling warning. "Your home is not what it seems," one comment read. "You've already lost someone. They're coming for the rest of you." What began as a child's curiosity had morphed into a living nightmare, and Sarah realized with heart-pounding clarity that Willow Creek harbored secrets darker than its peaceful exterior. Out of the corner of her eye, a shadow flickered past. With her heart racing and walls closing in, she understood there was no escape. She took a deep breath, preparing to confront the unseen horror that lay just beyond her front door. A creak echoed through the hallway, sending her bolting upright. What waited for her out there? The very thought paralyzed her with fear. The creak echoed again, each sound a whisper of threat that slid down Sarah's spine like icy fingers. Her breath quickened, shallow and frantic, as she edged closer to the source of the noise. The hallway stretched before her like a dark tunnel, swallowing the faint light from the living room. "Mom?" Jamie's voice floated from the kitchen, a naive question tinged with an echo of childish curiosity. She froze. "Stay in the kitchen," she called back, trying to keep her voice steady. The last thing she wanted was for him to wander out here. Shadows moved. She looked to the window, heart pounding. The streetlight outside cast warped shapes across the floor, figures twisting into menacing forms. Just the wind, she thought, clenching her fists to steady herself. But with each passing second, the unease bubbled to the surface. She crossed the threshold into the hallway, each step a daunting reminder that the familiar now felt suffocating and foreign. The air was thick, vibrant with tension, and a shiver crawled up her arms. Could she dare reach for the light switch? Or would that expose her to whatever lurked in the dark? Then, instinct prevailed. She lunged for the switch, fingers trembling, and flooded the hallway with harsh light. For a moment, she felt relief wash over her. But it was short-lived because nothing was waiting out there. No figure, no intrusion. Just silence, pressing like an animal ready to pounce. "See? You're just scaring yourself," she muttered, forcing herself to laugh. But her skin tingled, and dread clawed at her throat. Returning to the kitchen, she found Jamie standing at the window, peering out into the night. "Can we tell another story tonight?" he asked, eyes gleaming with a mix of excitement and something else, something darker. "Maybe we should take a break from those stories," she replied, kneeling to meet his gaze. "They can get a little too scary, don't you think?" His smile slowly faded, replaced by a pout. "But what if there are more we don't know about? Like the girl, Amanda? She didn't just disappear. What if she is still out there?" The way he posed it sent her heart racing again. A chill crept back through the room, rustling like the whispers she feared. "Let us not think about that right now, sweetheart." "It's late," Sarah urged. Silence wrapped around them. Hours later, as Jamie fell asleep clutching the blanket tightly, Sarah remained awake, her gaze locked on the window. Each lap of wind against the glass felt like a voice, nudging her closer to the dark secrets she'd rather ignore. And then she saw it, a figure across the street. A woman, pale as bone, standing beneath the streetlight. Void of detail, just a silhouette staring directly at their house. Jane's breath hitched, constricting, as she swiveled in her chair for a better look. But when she glanced back, the figure was gone. A gasp escaped her lips. Heart hammering, she turned to Jamie, still blissfully unaware in his dreams. What if? The thoughts swirled chaotically, tumbling over one another. And just then, her phone buzzed violently on the table, a new message. A number she didn't recognize. Sarah's fingers trembled as she unlocked the screen, pregnant with dread over what awaited her. The message read, "You're losing time. They're closer than you think." The air thickened. Her pulse raced wild in her ears. The shadows in the room felt alive, shifting closer, coiling around her thoughts. What was real or imagined? What more lurked in the dark threads of Willow Creek's abyss? With a sudden urgency, Sarah shot up from her chair, the sense of urgency urging her to act before what had always been hidden surfaced. Before she could take one step, a light knock echoed from the front door, slicing through the oppressive silence. She felt her heart drop. Who could it be at this hour? Gathering her breath and muster, she approached the door, dread pulling at her with every footfall. Time stood still as she reached for the doorknob, trembling. What awaited her beyond that threshold? The door felt cold beneath her hand, a jarring contrast to the warmth of her racing heart. She hesitated for a moment, the quiet outside pressing against her like a wall. Another knock, louder this time, made her jump. "Mom, who is it?" Janie's whisper drifted from the kitchen, heavy with sleep yet touched by curiosity. "Stay there," she hissed, her voice thin and taut. With a shaky breath, Sarah turned the knob. The door swung open, revealing only the night, its endless blackness devouring the porch light. No one stood there, but a deep chill settled into her bones. "Just the wind," she murmured to herself, though her instinct screamed otherwise. She peered into the darkness, searching for movement. Had she imagined the knock? Had the fear twisted her mind again? The moment stretched, heavy with the weight of anticipation, until her phone buzzed violently again, vibrating against the table within. The second message was brutal in its simplicity. "Open the door. You must let me in. Instinct urged her to slam the door shut, to retreat back into the kitchen. But curiosity clawed at her, an insatiable hunger for answers. For Jamie's sake, she needed to uncover whatever shadow crept through the edges of her reality. "Mom?" Jamie called again, the sleepy innocence threaded through the tension. Pulling away from the door, she turned toward his voice. "It's fine. I just need to check something." Another knock, this time frantic. The sound echoed in her chest, frantic and strained. "Please, let me in. You're in danger." The woman's voice was low, almost melodic yet rife with desperation. Sarah's stomach lurched. It spoke to a primal part of her, a warning drummed into her since childhood. "What do you mean I'm in danger?" she shouted into the dark. The air shifted around her, thick with dread. "Amanda," came the whisper from beyond. "They are coming for you too." Her mind raced. Amanda, wasn't she the girl who vanished from their neighborhood years ago? The girl Jamie had been asking about? "Just leave me alone," she shouted, slamming the door shut. But a cold hand gripped the knob from outside, refusing to let go. With a swift yank, the door wrenched open again, and there stood the woman, the pale silhouette she'd seen from the window. She was gaunt, but her eyes burned with life, wild and pleading. "You need to run. They're right behind me." Sarah's breath hitched. She couldn't think. Her body was frozen as Jamie appeared in the doorway, eyes wide, a sleeping god turned alert. "Who are you?" Jamie's small voice trembled. "Turn back, child," the woman cried, fear slicked on her face. "They want him." Before Sarah knew what was happening, she reached for Jamie, pulling him close. "Get back inside," she shouted, shoving the door with all her strength. The woman howled, an eerie sound that sliced through the night. "You can't stop the inevitable." A shadowy figure emerged just behind the woman, a dark, shapeless mass that pulsated with malice. Sarah's heart dropped as terror surged within her. She couldn't stay. "Not here, not now. Run!" she screamed, yanking Jamie backward into the kitchen. They scrambled together, breaths mingling, hearts racing. She could feel the energy shift in the air, thickening and swirling, a storm brewing behind them. Just as she turned the corner, there was a shuddering jolt that rattled the house. The sound exploded through her mind, choking off screams. Then silence, like the calm before the worst storm imaginable. "Mom! What's happening?" Jamie cried, his small hands clinging tightly to her shirt. "Don't look back. Just keep running." But before they could dart deeper into the house, another figure appeared in the doorway. This one was different, a shadow drenched in darkness, grotesque and hunched, with piercingly vacant eyes that seemed to suck the light from the room. The doorbell chimed, its echo skimming over the tension like a fine mist. "Well, now what?" Sarah murmured, her heart pounding as they stood trapped between the unyielding specters of twilight and the encroaching darkness beyond. As the lights blinked on and off, the hellish symphony echoed again, far worse than any story left untold. What awaited them next was the plunge into the heart of Willow Creek's nightmare. The kitchen felt like a cage, the shadows creeping in from the doorway, thick and oppressive. Sarah's instincts fired on all cylinders, the primal part of her urging her to protect Jamie at any cost. She shoved a chair in front of the door, her heart pounding like a war drum. "Mom, who are they?" Jamie whispered. His voice trembled, and Sarah's stomach knotted at the fear she couldn't fully conceal. "I don't know, honey. Just stay close to me." The air around them shifted again, colder now. Every exhale turned to mist, thickening the atmosphere with an otherworldly dread. Suddenly, the front door slammed shut with an explosive bang. The reverberation rattled the dishes on the shelves and echoed in Sarah's bones. "Did you hear that?" Jamie glanced towards the door, his young eyes wide with terror. "Don't look!" Sarah hissed, her hand instinctively gripping the back of his neck. "Keep your eyes on me." The child nodded, his breath shallow as he clutched her tight. The lights flickered violently, the room plunging into darkness before flashing back, revealing the hunched figure. It loomed in the doorway, filling the space with an ideology of fear. The thing's mouth curled into a wide, unnatural grin that revealed rows of jagged teeth not human, but primal. Sarah it spoke her name with a voice that cracked and hissed, so desperate, so protective. Her breath caught as she felt something twist in the very air around them, a tangible evil that sought to invade their sanctuary. "Run!" She shouted again, taking Jamie's hand and pulling him back toward the living room. But as they moved, the air thickened even more, resisting their movement, clinging to them like a suffocating fog. They reached the living room, and Sarah caught a glimpse of her phone vibrating furiously on the table, notifications lighting the screen like a beacon. She reached for it, her fingers brushing it just as another loud crash rang out from the hall. "Mom, what was that?" "I don't," but she didn't get to finish before the wall behind the couch ripped open in a flurry of wood and dust. A second dark figure forced its way inside, sleek and sinuous, creeping forward with a predatory grace. "Child!" It hissed, its voice like scraping metal. "You belong to us. Get back!" Sarah shouted, putting herself between Jamie and the predation that approached. Panic flared in her chest, and without thinking, she grabbed a nearby lamp and hurled it at the creature. It shattered on impact, sending glass shards glinting through the air. The monster jerked back, and for a second, she saw surprise in its black eyes. "You think that can hurt us?" "Mom! Please!" Jamie's voice rose in panic. Just then, a third figure emerged from the shadows outside the window, a leathery, almost spectral form that rushed toward them. "They're everywhere! Run, Jamie!" Sarah screamed, her heart hammering in her throat. They darted for the back of the house, desperation ripping through Sarah like a wild animal. As they fled, pounding footsteps echoed behind them, roars of anger mingling with the whispers from the dark. Each step felt weighted, like an invisible hand was pressing down on them, urging them to give in to the impending doom. "Mom, are we going to be okay?" Jamie cried, looking up at her with wide, pleading eyes. "Yes." She lied, though even she didn't believe it. They burst into the laundry room, slamming the door shut. Sarah pressed her back against it, listening to the chaotic thumping outside. An oppressive silence fell, broken only by their ragged breathing. In the dim light, she spotted the window. "We can escape out here," she breathed, her hope flickering like a dying ember. "Mom, what if they get us?" "Jamie, listen to me. No matter what, you stick with me." She yanked the window open, trying to ignore the eerie tug of dread that gripped her. Just as they prepared to climb through, her phone buzzed again, a text lighting up the screen. "They are closer than you think. You need to hurry. Go!" she ordered, pushing Jamie out into the night. But as she followed him, she felt a hand close around her ankle from the shadows behind. She screamed, but the darkness swallowed her cry. "Let go," she gasped, kicking out, but the grip tightened, pulling her back into the enveloping dark, the teeth of despair snapping at her heels. With the last shred of strength, she wriggled free. She surged outside, the cool night air striking her like a slap. But when she turned, Jamie was no longer there. "Jamie!" Panic surged through her. It was only the beginning of an unseen hunt. She could feel the eyes upon her, watching from the abyss. As the stars flickered above, she realized something dark had taken even the night, and she was in the heart of a nightmare that wasn't finished with her yet. With trembling lips, she whispered into the darkness, "Where are you, Jamie?" A rustle behind her made the hair on the back of her neck stand on end. And then, the gentle, unsuspecting laughter of a child echoed from far off, perverting the silence of the night into an end to any hope. "Mom, come play. This wasn't just a game anymore. It was survival. And the real terror was just beginning." The night was alive with fear. Sarah stumbled back, her pulse racing, breath coming in quick, shallow gasps. The laughter sent chills rippling down her spine, each note twisting the knife of dread deeper into her chest. "Jamie!" She called again, her voice trembling, but only the whisper of the wind answered. Shadows danced in her periphery, night frothing with dark figures just out of sight, their sinister intent pressing in around her like a vice. Then, from the trees lining the backyard, a flicker caught her eye. She turned sharply, heart hammering. Was that a figure? Just beyond the reach of the backyard light? She strained to see, breath suspended, trying to piece together the darkness, but it morphed into a clump of shadows, twisting and shaping like it wanted to mock her. Jamie! She cried out again, desperation clawing through her throat. The laughter echoed again, impossibly closer, battering her senses. It felt like it was wrapping around her, flirting with her sanity, teasing her existence. Before she had time to think, she dashed towards the sound. She knew she shouldn't, that it was a trap, but the maternal instinct surged within her. She couldn't let her son be alone out there, not with those things lurking. The ground beneath her feet felt strange, soft, like it was trying to swallow her whole. Each footstep was met with resistance, as if the shadows were reaching up to pull her back. Sarah pressed on, the night air thickening as she neared a wooded area bordering her yard. The laughter morphed, becoming high-pitched and frantic. "Mom! Come play with me!" It was an echo. An impossible mimicry of Jamie's sweet voice now turned malevolent. "Jamie!" she shouted, voice breaking under the weight of despair. "Where are you?" Then she saw him, or what looked like him. A small silhouette standing at the edge of the darkness, just inside the tree line. He raised his tiny hand, beckoning her. Relief surged through her, a moment of clarity. "I'm coming, honey," she cried, racing toward the light that flickered beneath the gnarly canopy. And then it vanished. In the blink of an eye, Jamie was gone, swallowed by the blackness, leaving only an ominous echo behind. Sarah skidded to a stop, disorientation flooding her senses. "No! No! Jamie!" Panic drove her to peer into the thick darkness, desperately searching the inky abyss. Every whisper of wind, every rustle of leaves felt like a taunt. "Come play," she heard it again, that tortured, childlike giggle, this time all around her. It wrapped around her like the fog, squeezing tight, filling her mind with horror. Was it playing, or was it a warning? A shiver of understanding hit her. This wasn't Jamie anymore. It had taken the form of her child. Whatever hunted them was toying with her emotions, using her deepest fears against her. Tears brimmed in her eyes as she wrestled with the truth. The darkness danced hungrily around her, almost alive, closing in. She felt the weight of unseen eyes pressing into her soul, the air thick with malevolence fueled by malevolent laughter. "Show yourself!" she demanded, voice trembling now. A figure stepped forward from the shadows. Tall, with a silhouette that twisted and shifted like smoke. Its glowing eyes bore into her. "You have chosen this path, Mother. Let us see how far you'll go for him." It grinned, teeth glinting in the moonlight, impossibly sharp, chillingly familiar. Sarah's heart raced, her instincts screamed her to run. She turned, but darkness coiled around her ankles, dragging her back. With every breath, the laughter grew louder, a cacophony of mocking joy. "Jamie! Where are you?" The laughter faded momentarily, replaced by the echo of her son's voice, familiar and yet grotesque. "Mom, I'm right here." Just when she thought it would pull her into its grasp, a new thought struck her. A desperate plan reforming in her mind. She needed to turn the trap back on them. Taking a deep breath, she stepped forward, whispering into the swirling dark, "You want my son? You'll have to go through me." In an instant, shadows coiled tighter, and for the first time, doubt flickered in those glowing eyes. Then let the game begin. But even as Sarah steeled her resolve, a realization sunk in a terrifying dread that left her paralyzed. There was no guarantee that the pieces of this game had any rules. And in the hushed silence following, a cold laugh echoed back, chilling her soul. Her next breath felt like an exclamation of defiance against the unyielding horror pursuing her. "Mom, come find me somewhere in that suffocating darkness." Jamie's laughter rang again, deeper this time, intertwined with a pain she could barely imagine. But Sarah knew one thing: she would find him. Or die trying. But could she save him before it was too late? The shadows pulsed, alive and watching, coiling around Sarah like a serpent ready to strike. The laughter, once distant, now swirled around her with a sickening familiarity, echoing off the trees, teasing her sanity. She could almost feel the breath of the darkness brushing against her skin, cold and taunting. Mom, I'm waiting. The voice drifted to her from the depths of the forest, wrapping around her heart like a noose. It was Jamie, but it wasn't he. The way it twisted and curled, mocking her, felt wrong. She took a shaky step back, desperate to understand. The figure before her, still shrouded in gloom, grinned wider, those sharpened teeth glistening like shards of ice. Do you see? He longs for you, yet he is not here. It gestured toward the thicket of trees. If you want him, you must join him in the dark. No! Sarah shouted, fury rising, driving the fear momentarily from her heart. I'll find him. She fought against the darkness that sought to pull her deeper into its maw, but with each step, the earth seemed to shift like quicksand, intent on dragging her down. The shadows laughed, low and guttural, a chorus of voices layered over one another. You don't know what you're asking for, Mother. The game is dangerous. Not all who wander find their way back. Sarah clenched her fists, the weight of her resolve hardening her trembling body. What game? What do you want? She felt small and lost, but a spark of defiance ignited. The figure before her grew larger, looming, its features melting into the night. Only that which every parent fears most we feed on your anguish. The voice was silky, but it smacked of venom, dripping with malice. And each choice you make pulls you closer to him. Or farther away. Choose wisely. Suddenly, the air shimmered, and a vision tore through the shadows. Jamie was there, only for a heartbeat, a fleeting glimpse of his terrified eyes, wide and desperate, surrounded by darkness. Mom! He cried. The heartbeat halted inside her chest, a thief stealing her breath. No! Sarah lunged forward, driven by frantic instinct, but the shadows yanked her back, like tendrils of smoke weaving tighter around her body. Let go! She screamed, fighting against the bindings that threatened to crush her. Let go? The creature's laughter bounced around her, sharp and shrill. It leaned in closer, eyes blazing like twin embers. You still don't understand. There is no letting go. You will follow, or you will be lost, just like him. The choice is yours. Mom! The voice echoed again, sending daggers into her heart. She could feel Jamie's presence, feel him thrumming in the dark, pulling at the very essence of her being. Standing on the precipice of despair, she felt the slimy grasp of hopelessness creeping up her spine. I will find you. She roared, each word a lifeline pulling her back from the abyss. I will face this. Then let us begin, the figure hissed, darkness swirling like a tempest around them, all-consuming, eager to devour. With one final gasp, Sarah pushed forward into the writhing mass of shadows. There was no turning back. She had to find Jamie. She had to reach him before the darkness unraveled them both. But as she stepped deeper, an icy laugh rang out, a chilling promise of trials yet to come. Welcome to the game, Mother. But remember, you cannot save what already belongs to us. In that moment, dread pooled in the pit of her stomach. She was not just battling for Jamie's life, she was stepping into a nightmare beyond her worst fears, a maze of her own making. And somewhere, hidden in that sea of whispers, a sinister truth awaited to emerge. Could she endure the madness, or would the darkness consume her whole? The laughter faded into silence, leaving only the sound of her heartbeat echoing back. Then a new voice emerged, a whisper creeping into her mind, chilling her core. You must choose which one to save. In that haunting moment, despair settled over her like a suffocating fog. As she felt the shadows tightening, she realized that the darkest game had only just begun. Cold filled the air, thick as the shadows that enveloped her. With each step forward, the darkness swirled tighter, a living veil wrapping around her, tighter, murky tendrils grazing her skin. Sarah clenched her teeth, willing herself to press on into the suffocating blackness, heart hammering against her ribcage like a caged bird desperate to escape. Mom, the voice lured her, sweet yet sinister. It felt like Jamie's, but distorted, layered with an unsettling echo that sent shudders racing down her spine. Help me, Jamie! She cried out, but her voice barely cut through the darkness. The shadows seemed to absorb sound, swallowing her cries before they could escape. The urge to flee was strong, fear clawed at her insides. But she forced herself onward, anchored by the desperate need to find her son. A flicker of movement to her right caught her eye. Something darted through the gloom, swift and silent, leaving trails of darkness in its wake. Jamie! A wild hope flared within her. Where are you? The laughter returned, piercing and cold, cutting through her renewed fervor. You're looking in the wrong place. The words sounded like a warped version of her own thoughts, wrapping tightly around her, pressing in. He felt very close, yet so far Sarah took a hesitant step forward and stumbled, her foot catching on something unseen. She fell to her knees, palms hitting the damp earth. Panic welled up as she realized she could no longer see, the shadows encroaching further, smothering the feeble light that clung to her sanity. Then the voice came again, a whisper now, slithering through the darkness, chilling her to the bone. Only one may find peace. Which one will you choose to save? Stop it! She screamed, the frustration boiling over. Stop playing games with me! The shadows surged, swirling violently, as if they were alive, annoyed by her defiance. From the depths, shapes began to take form, glistening eyes, peering out with malice. Each pair offered a glint of familiarity, twisting her memory into spirals of torment. Friends, lost. Family, gone. Faces she'd known, twisted into sinister grins that mocked her desperation. Join us. They beckoned, voices overlapping until they became one unified hiss. Embrace the darkness. It will show you the way. Never. Sarah's throat burned from the effort, but resolve flooded through her veins. She had fought too hard to let the shadows win. I will not give in. With a sudden surge of determination, she stood. Despite the weight of the darkness pressing down, she felt the faintest shimmering light in the distance, flickering like a candle in a storm. Jamie was close, she could feel it. But the laughter grew shriller, echoing off the unseen walls of her nightmare. He is so close, but first, a sacrifice must be made. What does that mean? Fear twisted her gut, and for a moment, memories of her son enveloped her. The joy, the laughter, the times they spent together. But within it stirred an impossible choice. Because she now understood, this was a twisted game where nothing was sacred. The shadows shifted, and an outline formed a child's silhouette. Legs dangling, suspended in midair, she felt a familiar jolt of hope. Then it vanished, swallowed whole by the darkness, leaving her with nothing but that dreadful laughter. Fingers trembling, heart racing, Sarah took a deep breath. She had no idea what lay ahead. But she had to focus. Jamie needed her now more than ever. Determined, she stepped forward into the oppressive void. But suddenly, the voices dropped to a deadly hush, like a predator coyly lurking. What will you risk, mother, to save your child? A chilling realization washed over her. The game was not just about Jamie. It was about everything she held dear, the choices that would unearth horrors she could never imagine. As the shadows pulsed and thickened around her, she braced herself for the darkest choice she might have to face. Would she betray her own heart to save Jamie? The whispers began again, wrapping tighter and tighter, and in that darkness she feared she wouldn't realize what or who was slipping away. The shadows beckoned, and she heard one last chilling phrase before the dark swallowed her whole. Choose wisely or lose them both, and in that moment, Sarah knew, the true terror was only just beginning. The air grew thicker, swirling as if it were a living thing, pressing in on all sides. Each breath felt heavier, suffocating under the weight of her fears. Shadows flickered in her peripheral vision, taunting her as they merged and split, morphing into shapes that felt chillingly familiar. Mom, the voice was sharper now, slicing through the darkness like a knife. Jamie's voice, once a warm embrace, now radiated pain and desperation. Help me, the cries vibrated through her mind, pulling at her heart. I'm coming. She tightened her fists, unwilling to let the darkness seduce her. I will save you. Yet with every step she took, the shadows twisted and writhed, suffocating her instincts. The laughter wrapped around her like icy chains. Only one may find peace, they cackled in unison, drowning out her determination. What will you sacrifice, dear mother? Each step plunged her deeper into a nightmare. The light she had clung to flickered and faded, leaving her with nothing but the jagged pieces of her memories. Images danced before her. Jamie's laughter, the warmth of his small hand in hers, the way he smiled when he was happy. But now, his face twisted from innocence into something monstrous amongst the shadows. "Why are you doing this?" Sarah cried out, her voice filled with anguish. "What do you want?" "You know what we want," the shadows hissed. "Your precious choice, or your precious child." A wave of dread washed over her. Somewhere beneath the despair lay the horrible truth: this darkness was born from her own fears. Choices she made, paths she hadn't taken, haunting voices from her past, each one weighed heavy on her soul. "You have no power over me," she screamed defiantly, desperation flowing through her. But the shadows rippled, whispering promises that curdled her stomach. "What if you could save him by giving up one of the bad memories? Your mistakes?" The darkness surged forward, its promise both tempting and repulsive. "I messed up," Sarah's voice broke. "But they're just memories. Remember, no one escapes without a cost." The coldness crept around her throat, tightening like a noose. Each heartbeat echoed through the silence, a relentless reminder of the ticking clock. The clocks didn't exist in this realm, but still, she felt time sliding through her fingers like grains of sand. Sweat beaded on her brow as she considered the choice. There it was again, the flickering light. "Jamie!" she called, the word escaping her in a rush as hope clung to her as she stumbled forward. She felt the pulse of something more profound in the void, a flicker of humanity shining through the darkness, urging her. "Save him, and you lose all of them," another voice whispered, this one softer, luring her to submission. "Or save yourself and cherish your memories." "Enough!" Sarah shouted. Anger gave fuel to her courage. "If I have to lose, if I have to sacrifice something to save my boy, I will do it." The laughter screamed back, furious and hungry. "Such noble intentions! Yet does your heart truly know what it desires?" The air thickened, swarming with shadows, clawing at her sanity. She shivered as she realized the choice loomed closer. Sarah blinked through the chaos, feeling the icy breath of the unseen horrors circling her. The ground beneath her feet trembled, and the shadows curled menacingly. She could see a silhouette in the distance, a dark figure contorting before her eyes. "Make your choice, Sarah, before he is lost forever." With determination surging once more, she dared to take a step forward, ready to confront whatever lay ahead. Yet in those final moments, a creeping dread filled her heart. Did she truly understand what she was about to sacrifice? As the darkness howled and twisted violently around her, Sarah barely heard the chilling ultimatum echoing through the void: choose or face the depths of despair. Now, she stood at the brink, knowing the true toll her choice would take. And just as she gathered her breath to push through the darkness, a familiar cry echoed, piercing and lost. "Mom, help me!" And as Sarah readied herself for the unimaginable, a new question gripped her mind: how far was she willing to go to save what she cherished most? The shadows convulsed, swirling around Sarah as she clutched the last remnants of her determination. With each heartbeat, the pressure intensified, a sinister countdown echoing through the void. Every whisper from the darkness seemed to claw at her senses, drowning her in foreboding. "Make your choice." The dark figure hissed, its form shifting like smoke, flickering between the realm of nightmares and the familiar features of her son. "Will you give in to the darkness? Stop!" she shouted, feeling the tremors in her legs. "You win." But the laughter persisted, rising to a deafening crescendo, enveloping her like a shroud of despair. It twisted into a shriek, reflecting her worst fears. One last moment of clarity, one last decision to make. Doubt whispered through Sarah's mind, and she shivered as the memories drowned her. The good times, the mistakes, each memory fought to escape her grasp. Images flashed by: Jamie's first steps, the birthday party that had ended in tears, her husband's strained face as secrets festered between them. Each was a choice, a reflection of her failures. "Give it to us. A mistake erased, and he will be yours again." The entity's voice dripped with malice, and Sarah felt the ground quaver beneath her, threatening to swallow her whole. "You want me to sacrifice a piece of my life?" she croaked. "You think it's that easy?" "Easy? No, dear mother. pain has its own cost. The walls of her mind threatened to collapse under the weight of her history. I can't do this, she whispered, a new wave of exhaustion crashing over her. Was this what it had come to? Trading her memories like currency? But what would she have left? The shadows snickered, their breath a chill against her skin. Perhaps it is all worth it if it means saving him, is it not? Jamie! She called out, piercing through the haze. The absence of his voice buried its way deeper, stoking the embers of her resolve. I will not forsake my memories. And then she felt it. A flicker of warmth beneath the encroaching darkness, a radiant pulse that felt distinctly like Jamie's spirit. Reinforced by love, she stood tall against the torment that threatened to engulf her. Yet, the specters sensed her strength and converged, their faces shifting to reflect her worst fears. Jamie's laughter trickled into sinister cackles, echoing through the chaos. Mom, what if I'm not worth all that pain? Shut up. I'll always choose you. She screamed, her voice trembling. Panic clawed at her from within, but she fought against it. She had to believe it was true. Is this a path you truly want? They hissed. You will lose them all, every single happy moment. White-hot terror coursed through Sarah. But she wouldn't falter now, not after everything. The shadows recoiled, sensing her fierce conviction, swirling back and forth, restless like the tempests of a summer storm. What you have, what you fear losing, it could all vanish, they beckoned. Sacrifice and you can have him back. Sarah's blood ran cold. What if it was the only way? In that deadened moment, reality twisted and crushed her, dropping truth heavy onto her shoulders. Choose or bear the weight for eternity. The voice turned back to Jamie's, innocent yet haunted. And within the depth of the darkness, something moved closer, a new terror, one she hadn't expected. Sarah's shudder rattled through her as another figure materialized. It bore the outline of a man she desperately tried to forget, the one memory she hoped had been erased. Your husband? Her heart raced frantically, and the shadows shuddered with fervor. Is he back to haunt you? Or will he be the one you choose to save? Everything spiraled down a path she wasn't prepared to navigate, leading her closer to the precipice of madness. Captain in despair, Sarah gasped for breath, caught between two loves. Shadowy whispers curled around her, beckoning forth. And just as understanding dawned, she felt the darkness tighten its grip. Which one is it going to be, Sarah? The echoes morphed into a chilling cacophony, drowning her heart. What will you sacrifice? Beneath it all. One final scream resounded, echoing her turmoil. Mom, please. As realization clawed at Sarah's resolve, she stood paralyzed, ready to make the most harrowing choice of her life. But could she truly bear the cost of what she was about to do? The darkness pulsed, taunting her, and she knew the next step could seal her fate forever. Swirling clouds of darkness enveloped Sarah, the shadows dancing and tugging at her, desperate to pull her deeper. Her heart thundered in her chest as she was forced to confront the chilling truth. She stood at a precipice, a horror show unfolding around her in resolution and conflict. In her mind echoed the dual call of Jamie and her husband, two loves intertwined, their needs battling for dominance within her chaotic soul. Choose. The shadows hissed, their unified warble only serving to flay her raw nerves further. Fear prickled along her skin as she thought of Jamie, his innocence tainted by the darkness lurking around them, his laughter twisted into a haunting refrain. And then, at the edge of her consciousness, thoughts of her husband tugged painfully at her. Memories of joy and love mingled with regrets and sorrow, making her pulse race wildly. Mom, help me. The voice threading through the shadows broke her heart into jagged pieces. It was the call of a child, one that sent her heart racing and froze her limbs all at once. Sarah, think of me. A deeper voice ebbed from within the darkness, one that exuded warmth yet bore the weight of so many unspoken words, the promise of love mixed with the pain of loss. No! She shouted, her voice trembling with desperation. I want to choose. I want to give up my love for one over the other. Denial surged through her veins with a fervor, each word like a solid anchor against the relentless tide of darkness. Such noble sentiments! The echo of laughter reverberated around her, blending mockingly with the cries of her two loves. A mother's dilemma: will you sacrifice the one you love to save another? Through the oppressive swirl, flickers of Jamie's figure emerged, pacing through the shadows, lost yet so close, drawing her attention. Mom, please. But then her husband's silhouette appeared, shadowy yet familiar, dulled with sorrow. You have a choice to make, Sarah. Make it wisely, or lose everything. Panic surged within as her mind raced, emotions clashing violently. Unraveling fragments of her memories thundered through her mind: happy times, laughter-filled days, moments tainted by heartbreak. She felt torn, caught between two worlds of love that screamed for her to make the impossible choice. Which will you abandon to save one? The voice sneered, growing sharper with each piercing whisper. There it was again, the deep worry gnawing at her, the fear of what it meant to prioritize one over the other. With new determination, she faced the maw of shadows, feeling the weight settle over her. I choose them both. She roared defiantly. I will not let you dictate what I give up. As she shouted, a shimmering light suddenly burst forth, illuminating the abyss surrounding her. The shadows recoiled and twisted as her heart swelled with fierce defiance. Love cannot be silenced. A pulse pulsated through the darkness, radiating warmth and strength. Her memories flared, resolute in their essence. Images flooded her mind of Jamie's giggles on a summer afternoon, of tender moments with her husband as they built their life together. They trumped the darkness, and she embraced that truth fully, ready to fight against despair. The creatures responded with fury, their forms bending and shifting grotesquely as they hissed, "This is not how the game is played. You can't escape the choice." Yet, Sarah became a powerful beacon, emboldened by love, blinding the shadows. You think I don't understand? You cannot have what I cherish. Not now, not ever. With her words, the darkness fractured, revealing fleeting glimpses of Jamie and her husband, each flicker a reminder of the love she held dear. She lunged forward, enveloped in determination, resolving to break through the chains of despair. Mom! Jamie's voice echoed from just beyond the shadows, close enough to touch, but held captive by the darkness. Help me! She tightened her grip, as a rush of adrenaline coursed through her veins. Hold on, I'm coming. With her heart drumming wildly, Sarah raced into the swirling maelstrom, enveloped by the gleaming light. Each step split the darkness, peeling away the layers of fear that had long held her hostage. As she broke free, the shadows howled, desperately reaching for her, a cacophony of rage. But Sarah pressed on, her love lighting a relentless path. The silhouette of her son flickered closer, merged with the light, shining with hope. Mom! His cries entwined, weaving through the chaos. And then suddenly, she was there, throwing herself towards him, wrapping her arms tight around his small frame, pulling him close. I found you! Tears poured from her eyes, a torrent of relief mingling with disbelief. But even as they embraced, a fierce wind swirled around them, desperately clawing. Shadows circled, furious and relentless. Not one may leave. A voice bellowed, the darkness roaring around them like a storm, angry at her refusal to bow. No! Sarah shouted defiantly once more. You have no hold over us. We are stronger than your shadows. As she spoke, a light blazed within her heart, merging with Jamie's laughter, forming a protective shield. The darkness shrieked in pain, twisting, retreating before the brightness, revealing a path leading towards the warmth of dawn beyond. Hand in hand, Sarah and Jamie burst through, leaving the chaos behind them. Their breaths hitched, warmth enveloping them, imbued with affection and love. But there remained a lingering echo behind her, the remnants of shadows whispering, threatening, glimmering with a danger that hadn't vanished. It's over, Sarah breathed, turning back to take one last look at the darkness receding. For a moment, the world flooded with tranquility. They were free. But the specters of their fears lingered still, etched into the space of their minds, a reminder of the battle fought and the power of love's triumph over fear. As they stepped forward into the light of a new day, Sarah whispered fiercely, "We will always hold on to each other." And in that moment, both resolved no more fear, only love. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm, it really helps out. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this mind-bending ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. True fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.